Can I ask you two for a favour? Kisarif weakly asked Jack and Critch, as they waited with the Anasite before he was brought in for another round of surgery. The insectoid had already undertaken a few rounds of surgery to keep him alive and preserve his vital organs, and the medics were shocked that Jack had managed to save his life. However, even if Kisarif had been brought back from the brink of death, they still had a long way to go until they would recover. Of course, Jack softly replied, keeping his eyes on his friend's face and not on the nasty burns, cuts, and missing body parts. What do you need? So, I can't ask the others to do it since we dorm together in Red Legion territory, and it's against regulations to have some of the stuff I've got. But I have no idea how long I'm gonna be here, or if I'll even be alive. Can you delete my browser history for me, and pick up a few things? I heard the Red Legion territories got hit bad, so they want all the Aspens to stick around to secure it. And there's no way in hell I'm brave enough to ask the girls. I know the way, and I can wipe it no problem, Critch nodded. Give me a list and I'll get the stuff, Jack agreed, though I'm assuming we'll need permission from whoever is in charge. Val will let you in. He's technically an officer, so he's got clearance to let you have access to my dorm if you're just there to pick up some stuff. Kisarif sighed, as his voice grew weaker still. Hey, guys? If I don't make it through... Hey, don't say things like that, Jack snapped, putting his hand on Kisarif's shoulder to keep him awake. You survived the worst of it, so now you're doing exactly what you should be doing. Hang in there. I just hope the Red Legion won't send me away, the Anasite sniffed. I'm useless to them now. No, you're not, Jack reassured his friend. This is tough, but you're tougher. The Red Legion would be dumb not to see that. You're going to recover and come back stronger than you were before. Heh, Kisarif smiled back. Thanks, Jack. Sorry, boys, but we're prepped and ready, one of the doctors informed them, as they and several nurses quickly moved around the gurney Kisarif was laid on, to move him to their temporary operating theatre. Understood, Jack nodded, giving a quick shout of, good luck, to the Anasite, before he and Critch left the room to stand out in the corridor. Though Critch had only taken superficial wounds, Jack was still badly hurt from before, and yet he didn't have anyone to help mend him. He was worried the medical staff were severely overestimating how effective his biology was, and he repeatedly checked his bandages to make sure he wasn't bleeding too heavily. We won't need to do that immediately, Critch finally sighed. Kisarif will be out for a few days after this round of healing. I heard they're going to try and save what they can. Clan Barzan brought a team in just for him, especially since he was apparently lucky enough to save one of their daughters. I've got to say, they must be going all out with their finances, so I hope they can take the hit without cutting costs. Honor and reputation are more important to the Hodov clans than money, after all, but if they enter the red at a time like this, they might end up collapsing, or someone might try and take advantage of the situation and strike against them. Do you think Clan Barzan can handle it? Jack asked. Under normal circumstances, yes, Krish nodded. In a chaotic time like this, it's less likely, but maybe they know things I don't and they'll be fine. There'll be many that try to take advantage of the chaos for their own benefit, so maybe this is also meant to be a show of strength from Clan Barzan to ward off any that might want to make a play against them. And what about your family? Jack asked. Will they be okay? Oh, they'll be fine, Critch grinned. My clan is too small for a ring-wide threat like the killer clan to bother targeting. My grandfather will know how to play this to his advantage and keep us all safe. That's a relief. I like your clan's tea garden, and they seem like good people, Jack grinned. Helping our party avoid an obese moron causing a scene is certainly a good way to get into our good books. There you are, Ivar Barzan called out, sighing as his eyes wandered to Jack's injuries. I told the medics we needed you healed up as a priority. We have inquisitors that need to talk to you about what you encountered. I gave my report, but they want to verify everything you told me, and get you to recall any information you may have missed. Sure, Captain. Jack tidily nodded. Are the medics able to heal me up while I talk? Probably, Ivar shrugged. They've already spoken to a few others who might have seen things. But aside from those who aren't conscious, they want to talk to you, the Nira, and this Renner you told me about as soon as possible. Can't find the other two for the life of me, so congrats, you're up. We're starting to notify households and factions where applicable for those that aren't hurt, but we're happy to put you guys up for as long as it takes. Hopefully not during school time, otherwise we're fucked, Critch muttered, before he looked up at Ivar's raised eyebrows. Sorry. I'll let the elders handle that shit show in the making, the captain shrugged. After the donations our clan has made to them over the centuries, I'm sure we can lean on them to go easy on you. Anyway, you coming or not, outsider? Let's go. Pain. Darkness. Alive? The thoughts of Nia coalesced, registering bare whispers of sensation, until finally her mind became whole enough to become fully aware. The ability to dream lucidly had been something her masters had taught her from a young age, until she did it reflexively, every single night without thought. With it, she concentrated and gathered her power, until she was able to actually project out of her body. Moaning slightly in pain with the effort, she manifested above her body and slapped her hand over her mouth in shock, as she saw the physical state she was in. Hello? Nia snapped round in shock, not expecting to be addressed on the same plane of existence, suddenly panicking as she cursed her recklessness. If Svartal had found her and taken her alive, of course he would place some guardians around. His familiar was right there, idly looking her way but otherwise not taking any action. Hey Nia, it's okay. You're safe. The voice spoke again, and this time Nia focused her astral senses to make out the figure. Svati? Nia asked, taking a sharp intake of breath but recognizing the Nira's own astral form. We're being looked after by Clan Barzum. They got us out, though I don't remember much. Svati floated towards Nia, and gently placed her hands on the Stygian's shoulders with the intention of calming her down. Tachika told me I was treated at school before I was brought here, and that you were brought here by Jack and one of the response teams. Yes, I remember now, Nia thought to herself. Jack found me. He must have got me out after I reverted to my natural form. I don't think I'm compromised. Good thing my astral signature changes too. I don't remember too much, Nia partially lied, recalling much of what had happened, but having definite gaps in her memory. I do know the clowns were portaled in. Indeed, Renna had gone to stealthily investigate, before she informed Nia and their masters that not only had Dr. Reyes Grime made an appearance, but that he had assisted the clowns in taking out the security nexus, and he had a powerful wizard working with him. It was that information that led her to confront Svartal, partly to wring out what he knew of Dr. Grime's dealings with House Malkar, but also for the excuse of making him pay for the way he always treated her. Her masters would ream her severely for this, and Renna too. Somehow Jack had seen the Volster, when she shouldn't have been seen at all, and now questions would be asked. Hopefully her masters would know what to do. That would make sense, Svati agreed with Nia's account. When I was able to breach through the suppression field, I was able to exploit vulnerabilities to pull it off and link a focus to Svartal's school locker. At the time, I thought it was down to the clowns, but if exceptions were made for others, it would explain how we were able to do it much quicker than expected. That's an amazing thing to be able to do, Nia asked, thinking quickly. Is that why you're in the same position as I am? Svati nodded. That and the barrier I'd summoned to repel as many of the clowns as I could. I've never been able to cast something as powerful as that before, so I'm surprised I'm not as hurt as I thought I would be. I certainly didn't expect to be aware enough to be able to actually project. Nia looked at Svati for a long moment, and she didn't get the sense that the Nira was lying. Such a claim was far too bold to be false. Renna had claimed that there were reports from Clan Barzum responders that there was an extensive magical defense protecting the front as well. That sounds amazing, Nia smiled. How are you able to put it off? The stuff my brother gave me when we joined House Malkar, Sparty beamed. He told me it belonged to our mother. I had been practicing with it all week, but this is the first time I've used it for anything complicated. It enhanced the spells I used to attack the clowns, so I thought I would use it for a weave. But when I began, it was like I knew fully what my intention was, and I could recall the knowledge to optimize and strengthen it into something powerful. Same with breaching the field. Maybe you did that on your own rather than with the staff's power, Nia pointed out. You've always been a great mage. Thanks. Svarti shyly smiled, but it was definitely the staff enhancing my abilities. No doubt about it. The staff is what I think it is, though I never expected it to resurface like this, Nia thought to herself. Svarti is probably innocent of all this, but where did Svartal get it? A gift from the Malkars? Or did he steal it himself? What about you? Svarti asked Nia after a long pause. How did you end up like this? I ended up dueling a mage and I lost, Nia sighed. I was stupid, and I'm lucky to be alive. I'm sure you did what you could, Svarti replied, comforting the Stygian. I hope nothing like this happens to us again, but if it does, we'll learn from what happened here, and do better. You're right, Nia nodded in agreement. Next time. They tried to, but they didn't. Vanya sobbed, as Alora lent the tuner a shoulder to cry on. I feel like I should have died. I'm sorry, Vanya, Alora soothed, as she rubbed her friend's fur. It's over now, and we're all going to help each other heal, okay? Vanya nodded. I should have stayed with Svarti. I knew this was the first time she came to a party, but I encouraged her to mingle with some of our classmates, and now she's... None of us could have seen this coming, Alora slowly replied, emphasizing her words. This lies entirely at the feet of the killer clown. He will pay for what happened. I hope so, Vanya sighed. I don't know what to do. Here's what you're going to do, Alora spoke assertively. You're going to move in with us, and stay for as long as you need. You told me you got some words with Jack, so when you're up for it, you get to fully interview the rest of us. I don't want to be a burden, Vanya tried to start, but Alora wasn't having any of it. You're never a burden, and we're happy to have you. I've told the others, and they fully agree that all of our friends are welcome to stay with us. We're secure and secluded, so you'll be safe. We'll fetch your stuff when we can, but we have plenty of spare clothes you can wear in the meantime. Vanya made an expression as if to try and argue, but Alora was patient, and gave her friend all the time she needed to accept the help they both knew she needed. Damn joints are stiff. It's even worse after the pallet pit run, Nika groaned, from sitting up on the makeshift bed the medics had ordered her to stay laid down on. But yeah, don't worry about finding a place, Sale. We've got more than enough room to put you up. Alora's already given us the go-ahead. And room for Rail too once they get better, Scifi added with a grin. Thank you, friends, Zale shuddered with relief from the side of Rail's bed, which had been placed next to Nika's. Rail and I could barely afford paying our dues as it was, and the Laird has been increasing them in response to recent attacks, or so they claim. Ever since the Killer Clown's first attack breached part of their territory, they've been seizing assets from anyone they can by making up pretexts, and threatening tenants not to leave. Rail and I have been wanting to move for a while, and had plans to try and offer our services for residency in a safer district. This Laird sounds like a nasty piece of work, Chio finally spoke up. I would suggest we secure your belongings as quickly as possible, before they realize you are leaving. Under normal circumstances, I would agree with you, Nika sighed. But even I think we're way too hurt to come with you and make the attempt. Realistically, I would expect a local lord to be on high alert immediately after and during a major citywide attack, so it might be better to wait for things to calm down before trying to recover your things. Either way, You're not going back alone. At least some of us will need to come with you just in case things get worse. You've both stayed with us overnight before without any issues, Tshirt pointed out, as one of the nurses quickly walked over to Nika and gently pushed her back down, saving herself the trouble of repeating her order to the Kizan. While I don't suggest we go right now, a day or maybe 2 at most should be fine. You may be right, Zale sighed nervously, shaken at the thought. Don't you think you might be overthinking this kind of stuff? Scifi asked, as another nurse quickly checked her bandages. It's not like this is a run. We're just going to pick your things up. Do you really think it's going to be that bad a situation that we'll need the entire group kitted up like we're going back to the pallet pit? If a few of us come with you, would anyone even give us any trouble? That is a valid question, Nika shrugged, fluffing up the sheets as she remained lying down. Arsehole landlords aren't exactly uncommon, and I've heard all kinds of stories from mild to terrible. You know best. What do you think? Just how bad is this guy? It wasn't always this bad, Zale admitted. The lad was never particularly great to begin with. We only stayed within his territory initially because we needed a place quickly, and the jewels were cheap at the time. The buildings are somewhat shoddy and the facilities are poorly maintained, but at least security was up to standard, and once we knew when brownouts would occur, we could work around them. However, he kept charging us and the other residents for any infractions, and kept increasing the rent, citing that he needed to hire more security. But the worst thing was when Rel's Watcher Spirit notified us that they snooped in our home and stole some things. After that, we hid our valuable belongings in the ground underneath, using an Earth Spirit. Damn, that sounds awful. Scifi was the first to speak, likely talking from experience. We have some spare clothes and other things Jack and I came into possession of that you can have in the meantime, that can serve as replacements. If you've buried your belongings safely underground, then perhaps we don't need to go to your home itself, Tshirt reasoned. You can order the Earth Spirit to shift it all underground, right? Maybe bring it up in a nearby district? This is true, though not all of our possessions are buried, Zale clarified. If it's made too obvious, there are ways of wresting control of the spirit. Instead, they have no idea it's there. Though it's not absolutely necessary, I would like to obtain the rest of our things if we can. The lad has taken too much from us already, and I don't want to leave him anything I could otherwise take with me. That's reasonable, Nika grinned. Though it's a shame we won't be able to use our new toy. If we fix the shuttle up even a little bit, we could hover over in the middle of the night and load it up. But depending on what you have, we may need to leave some things behind. Unless your Earth Spirit can solder the furniture too. Not necessarily, Zale slowly added. Rael and I had a plan. The lad has a vault with confiscated valuables, including where our Watcher Spirit told us he'd taken our things. Now that's interesting, Scifi grinned, as she realized what Zale was hinting towards, though Tshirt and Nika needed a brief moment. Wait, are you proposing we... Yes? Zale gave a sly smile. I want you to help me steal it all, right from under their noses. Can anybody corroborate your account that Dr. Reyes Grime was present during the attack? One of the Inquisitors, a reptilian Red Legion representative, asked with a curious gaze. I saw him on the cameras in the security nexus, and that is what led me to chase him, Jack replied, trying his best to be patient, but getting frustrated with the constant questions that raised doubt among those gathered. Just bring up the logs from when I turned it all back on and you'll see it. I took the liberty of backing up the logs the moment I got there myself, Sigrun Barsam added. I made a copy for each of you. Feel free to verify for yourselves. The murder scene also perfectly lines up with what we know of Grime's capabilities. It is our belief that he somehow was able to infiltrate the party and access the security nexus, killing all those on duty. Once that was accomplished, he likely held his position until the clowns attacked, and he had an exfiltration set up. That matches what we know of Grime's operational planning. Inquisitor Faglil raised her voice to grab the attention of the rest of the room. Jack was glad for a familiar face in the hearing, and having the representative from the Church of Astara move things along was very welcome. I'm sure the surveillance from before the attack will turn up something we can use to work out how he did it. We may very well have never discovered his involvement without Jack, though his involvement with the killer clown does raise concerns. Is it possible that he's feeding the killer clown's army with his experiments? Another Inquisitor spoke up, and several murmurs could be heard pondering the question. Perhaps we should stay on topic. Another voice spoke up. What happened when you caught him? I fought him, Jack shrugged. Wasn't able to kill him. Jack, we need more details than that, and you know it. Inquisitor Fagelor spoke up, not unkindly. What happened when you caught up to Grine? He led me into an ambush. There were clowns there. Jack recalled the details. He ordered them to stand down for a moment, I think to examine me or something. We said some things, I can't remember what exactly. Then I attacked. I was able to take down the clowns before they could get me. Then I fought him. Jack stopped there, as the Inquisitors began whispering to each other again. He knew how it ended. He had to tell them about the mage at least, but there was no way he was going to tell them how he planned in that moment to kill Grime by sacrificing himself in the process. What can you tell us about the spellcaster that came to the assistance of Dr. Grine? Another Inquisitor asked him. He wasn't there for long, Jack sighed, trying to remember as much as he could about the mage. Black robes. I think he had a golden scaled claw, though I wasn't really paying attention to the amount of fingers. Would you say he was subservient to Dr. Grine? Fagelor asked. No, Jack replied, a little uncertain. I got the impression they were partners based on how Grine spoke to him, wanting to leave instead of fight. Is that all they said? The Red Legion Inquisitor asked. Jack began, then stopped. In his anger, Grine yelled something at me that very few people here know about. Here in this room? No, as in this what? I mean the ring, Jack sighed. Jack, now is not the time to be withholding information. Fagelor stared at him with an unreadable expression. Fine, Jack replied, trying to keep his voice calm. He told me that he knows about the spawn of Nekton, and the one who summoned it wasn't exactly happy about that. Fagelor closed her eyes for a moment and nodded, subtly motioning with her hand for Jack to hold back on elaborating, as everyone else in the room looked around, confused. We had planned on making a statement about this, Inquisitor Fagelor spoke up, so the room immediately gave her their attention. The Church of Astara sent Jack and his party of mercenaries to investigate rumors of dark activity to the north, where they encountered and eliminated a spawn of Nekton. The Church of Astara has secured the site in cooperation with our brother and sister faiths from the Temple of Hope, and we are still investigating the scene. A spawn of Nekton? Here? The Red Legion Inquisitor exclaimed. How is that possible? Nekton is dead. That is what we wish to find out, but sadly we know little. Fagelor sighed. What we do know is that thanks to Jack's report, Clan Barzan was able to find the room the mage appeared in, and were able to make preliminary notes on their astral signature. Whoever the mage was clearly has skill in masking their power, as there wasn't much to be deduced. We can conclude that whoever they are very powerful, and there are few mages known to us with that level of potency. If Grine can't be found, this mage may prove an easier target. As for whoever summoned the spawn, it could very well be a bluff. If not, then right now we have nothing to go on. So I suggest we investigate Grine, and the other attacks where third parties could have been involved. There were several nods of agreement from around the room. I think there's nothing else that we need from you for now, Jack. Fagelor smiled sympathetically. You've mentioned this Renner individual as having met you afterwards, so I think we will speak to her next, as soon as we are able, so we can get an understanding of her perspective. Come on. Sigrun patted Jack on the shoulder as he got up, and was escorted out of the room. "Well, you're full of surprises," she snorted, as soon as the door was fully shut. "A spawn of Nekton of all things. I need to get out in the field more. Would you like some food or drink?" "A tea of some kind would be great," Jack sighed, as he leaned against the wall in exhaustion before something caught his eye. "Huh. Those guys don't look like medics to me." "Where?" Sigrun asked, not seeing where Jack was pointing. The robed figures were walking quickly down the corridor, though as Jack looked, he could see various passing figures not even turn their heads to acknowledge them. It was like they didn't notice them. "You really don't see them? Guys in robes?" he asked, only for Sigrun to suddenly blink her eyes in alarm, before perking up and nodding. "That's strange. I swear I couldn't see them before. Let's stay on their tail while I raise the alarm. It looks like they're heading to where we have the magical coma patients." "Understood." He unholstered his gun as Sigrun quickly spoke into her comms. "I'll follow them. If you subtly raise the alarm, we can get the drop on them." He wasn't going to be happy if these guys were up to no good.